locking down the objective. Rally to me!
Anyone out there?
Okay, so I know we all love Call of Duty and Battlefield, and you're probably sick and tired, and above all, suspicious of all the hype around Overwatch. You know, the fact that it's got over 15 million registered players, and everyone on YouTube seems to be making videos about it. But maybe, just maybe, you're a little bit interested in what Overwatch is all about, and why, if you're into first-person shooters, you should be playing it now. I'll admit that after playing the Overwatch beta back in May, I wasn't convinced. I didn't like the look of the game. I didn't like the extended time to kill, and I didn't understand how all the characters could play so differently, and the fact that only one of the characters at the time used aim-down sights. And that just blew my mind. How could you have a decent first-person shooter when pulling the left trigger didn't pull up your gun and bring up the sights like Call of Duty Battlefield? I also felt that the game was too expensive, which I still kind of do, but it has dropped to around £40 in the UK, which is slightly better. But as I've put in 18 hours already, and I've only just begun to scratch the surface of the possibilities that this game holds, I know it'll be great value for money, and I'm convinced that Overwatch is a game that any fan of online multiplayer first-person shooters should be picking up and playing, whatever your reservations may be. Over the next few weeks, I'll be doing several videos about Overwatch. Firstly, as I said in this video, I'll be covering what the game's all about and why you should be playing it. Then next, I'll go through the heroes you should probably start playing with and how to practice and get better with them. And then finally, some strategies and tactics that you can use to improve your chances of winning matches and helping your teammates. Or also overcoming specific challenges that situations throw at you. So, Overwatch is a first-person, team and objective-based online multiplayer shooter. It's 6 versus 6 on various maps in just a few game modes. At the time of recording this video, there's 22 characters that you can play with, and they're referred to as heroes, and each has very different weapons, maneuverability, health, special abilities and ultimate moves. Although these heroes all play differently, there is absolutely no levelling up of their abilities or weapons in game. That's right, you don't have to grind to unlock different weapons or attachments or perks or wildcards. The Soldier 76 or Mercy hero you start playing right now is exactly the same as a player gets who has put hundreds of hours into the game. The only differences are their skill as a player and the tactics and strategies they use. You'll find this so refreshing compared to the levelling up grinding Call of Duty or Battlefield. Sure, you level up as you play, but the only effect here is that every time you level up you get a loot box, which only contains cosmetic items such as new skins, phrases and emotes. So let's now talk about the game modes in Overwatch. At the play options screen you'll see quick play, play versus AI, competitive, custom and brawl game options. Quick play is the option we'll be covering in depth here. The play versus AI mode is great to start with and experiment with new heroes, and you'll be able to access competitive when you reach level 25. The custom mode allows you to set up different types of matches against friends or AI, and the brawl game option changes regularly and can have predetermined custom games, say just Pharaohs and Mercies only, or could be something completely different like the Lucio Ball in the Summer Games feature that's happening at the moment. You'll notice that there's absolutely no campaign or story mode in Overwatch. It's all about the online multiplayer experience, which is why some consider it overpriced. But think about how much time you spend in the Call of Duty or Battlefield campaign compared to the online multiplayer, and maybe it doesn't seem so bad. After working your way through the training tutorial, some time on the practice range and versus AI, quick play is where you'll be spending most of your time, and the three main modes are Escort, Assault and Control, with a fourth being a mix of Escort and Assault. Each mode has a specific map designed for that type of game, and you can either be a defender or attacker on any of the appropriate game modes. You'll already be questioning why there's no team deathmatch or free-for-all, but don't worry, you won't really miss them. Overwatch's publisher Blizzard has a fine track record of adding free features to games at a regular pace. We've already seen an extra hero, with another apparently coming soon, and I wouldn't be surprised if more maps and game modes are just around the corner. In Escort, your team's job as the attacker is to get to the payload, then have someone stay near it, which is the switch to make it move forward on a predetermined route through set checkpoints to a final destination before the timer runs out. The more team members you have near the payload, the faster it will move, up to about 3 players. As the defenders, your job is simply to try and stop the enemy getting to the payload and then move them away from it or block it to stop it moving forward. And if you get rid of all the enemies off the payload, you can actually start moving it backwards. And if you stop the opposing team getting the payload to its destination before the time's out, you win. In Assault, as the attackers, you've got to get to and capture an objective, which is a small portion of the map marked in red. When you're on the objective, there's a countdown for you to capture it, which goes faster the more of your team that are on the objective, and it will stop if the defenders jump on and start contesting the objective. Once you've captured the first objective, you've then got to move on to the second one and do the same thing again. To win, you've got to capture both objectives before the timer runs out. As defenders, you've got to prevent the attackers capturing the first, then the second objectives before the timer runs out. Remember that you cannot recapture the first objective once it's lost, so as soon as that happens you need to fall back and start defending the second one. In Control, both sides fight to capture a single objective which can change between them. And once they've got it, they've got to hold it until their counter reaches 100%. And if you lose it, the other team starts going up again. You capture or contest the objective by getting as many team members onto the point as you can, and after a countdown, which can be stopped by the enemy team contesting the objective, the ownership of the objective will switch and a counter of the team that grabs the objective will start to rise. Once you own the objective, you don't need to be standing on it to make the counter go up, but you do if you want to contest the objective and prevent the other team from taking it away. In Quick Play, Control is a best of 3 format, where you play on different parts of the same map each time. The final game mode is a mix of Assault and Escort, where, as the attackers, you've got to capture the objective, then a payload appears, which you've then got to escort to its final destination through various checkpoints before the timer runs out, and as you've guessed it, as defenders, you've got to prevent the attackers capturing the objective or getting the payload to its objective before the timer runs out. In all these different game modes, it's important to remember that although playing the objective is important, escorting that payload or capturing that objective, it's not the role for every member in your team. That all depends on your tactics and the strategy you choose to use, that is often based around the hero you are playing. Their differences are the core of why you should be playing Overwatch if you're a fan of first-person shooters, so let's take a look at those next. Here they are. All 22 heroes, and right now you're probably thinking, what the hell? All these different characters that play differently? How on earth are you meant to get to know all of them? Well, don't worry, because there's only really need to get to know 4. You want to get to know 1 offense, 1 defense, 1 tank, and 1 support character, and really then you're really good to go to progress through the game quite far. Okay, so maybe I'm going a little fast here, so let's take a step back. The 22 heroes are divided into 4 main types: offense, defense, tanks and supports, and this roughly reflects on the type of roles they're good at. Your offense heroes can go it alone, they can flank around and attack the enemy. They specialise in killing members of the opposite team. Defensive characters often work best when the enemy is coming towards them. Tanks can take a lot of damage and can be used to lead your team, forcing their way through bottlenecks or bringing enemy thrusts to a standstill. And support characters mainly can heal your team, protect them, and you'll usually find them slightly behind the front line. So having a balanced team is really important. So for example, if you're running without any support heroes, well, the enemy do, you'll be in a tricky match. Similarly, if the enemy has a lot of tanks, then you can respond with tanks of your own, or maybe with the tank killing heroes like Pharah and Bastion. When you're starting a match, the game actually does tell you if your team isn't quite balanced right. Say you've got no support or too many tanks, which is a real help. Then as your match progresses, you can change your hero to address different situations or the way your enemy is playing. And that is why Overwatch can be so much fun to play. It's just like an ongoing game of rock, paper, scissors. Because to be good at Call of Duty or Battlefield, You've generally got to have great twitch reactions. You've got to have the ability to aim and kill people quickly, moving your crosshairs around the screen locking into enemies. In Overwatch, however, only a few heroes actually play like that, whereas with the others there is absolutely no need to be an accurate aimer. Reinhardt, for example, has a massive shield and lobs fireballs. Torbjorn can set up his own turret that does all the aiming for him. Junkrat just spams grenades everywhere. And Mercy's speciality is healing and buffing her teammates with a beam that automatically locks on without much aiming at all. So you should be playing Overwatch because it's the first person shooter for the rest of us. It's the first person shooter for people who aren't that good at twitch aiming, because you simply don't have to play that role if you don't want to. Yet you can still be the player who is the linchpin of your team, the one who makes the play that seals victory without having to have the reflexes of a 14-year-old hyped up on 3 cans of Monster. So there it is. I hope I've explained a little about what Overwatch is all about and why you should play it. And please look out for my starter hero guides to Soldier 76, Mercy, Reinhardt and Torbjorn over the next few weeks. That's enough from me. Please put any questions or comments down below. Hit like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe if you'd like to see more of the same. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.